Lily thanked him and headed for the elevator, grateful that at least she wouldn't have to navigate a crowded lift while trying to protect the delicate roses. As the doors closed and the elevator began its smooth ascent, Lily caught her reflection in the mirrored wall and grimaced. Her dark hair was plastered to her head from the rain. Her simple jeans and blue t-shirt with the Petal Perfect logo were splattered with water, and there was a smudge of soil on her cheek from arranging plants earlier. Definitely not Penthouse material, she thought with a sigh. The elevator opened directly into a private foyer with polished marble floors and a massive crystal chandelier. Lily hesitated, suddenly unsure if she should knock or ring a bell. Before she could decide, a door opened and a man appeared. Lily's first impression was of casual confidence. He was tall, with dark hair and striking gray eyes that widened slightly at the sight of her. He wore simple dark jeans and a light sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent, but it was the way he carried himself that screamed money. That indefinable quality of someone who had never worried about checking their bank account before making a purchase. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice deep and curious rather than annoyed. Lily straightened her shoulders. "Flower delivery for Penthouse 1201, she said, holding out the arrangement. "From James Carlton to Vanessa. The card says, 'Happy birthday, beautiful.'" Something shifted in the man's expression. Confusion, followed by what might have been amusement. "I think there's been a mistake," he said. "I'm Ethan Wright. This is Penthouse 1201, but I'm not James, and I don't know any Vanessa." Lily felt her stomach drop. "Oh, no," she groaned, pulling out her phone to check the delivery address again. "This says Horizon Towers, Penthouse 1201. She scrolled further and felt her heart sink even lower. Horizon Point. Not Horizon Towers. They're on opposite sides of downtown. "Quite a mix-up," Ethan commented, still looking more amused than annoyed. "I am so sorry," Lily said, already backing toward the elevator. "I'll get these to the right address right away." "Wait," Ethan said, glancing at his watch. "It's nearly 8. How far is Horizon Point from here?" "About 20 minutes in good traffic," Lily admitted. "But with the rain and rush hour..." "So at least 40 minutes," Ethan finished for her. "And I'm guessing the recipient is expecting these for a birthday celebration tonight?" Lily nodded miserably. This was a premium order, and a late delivery would mean a refund, which the shop could hardly afford right now. "Let me help," Ethan said unexpectedly. "I have a driver downstairs. He can get these to the right address in half the time it would take in regular traffic." Lily blinked in surprise. "You would do that? For a complete stranger?" Ethan shrugged. "Why not? I was just about to order dinner anyway. You look like you could use a break, and someone's birthday shouldn't be ruined because of a simple address mix-up. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story." Before Lily could process what was happening, Ethan had pulled out his phone and was speaking to someone. "Michael, I need a favor. There's a flower delivery that needs to go to Horizon Point, Penthouse 1201, as quickly as possible." "Yes, I'll send them down right now." He turned back to Lily. "Problem solved. Michael will meet you in the lobby and take the flowers to the right address." "I should go with them," Lily protested weakly. "It's my responsibility." "When was the last time you ate?" Ethan asked, his eyes taking in her exhausted appearance. The question caught her off guard. "I had a granola bar around noon, I think." "That's what I thought," Ethan said with a decisive nod. "I'm ordering Thai food. There's enough for 2. Stay, have dinner, and by the time you're finished, Michael will have confirmed the delivery." It was crazy. Completely crazy. Lily should politely decline, hand over the flowers, and leave. That would be the professional thing to do, the sensible thing. But something in Ethan's expression, a genuine kindness behind the casual confidence, made her hesitate. "I couldn't impose," she said, even as her stomach growled traitorously. "It's not an imposition," Ethan assured her. Consider it a random act of kindness from one overworked professional to another. 20 minutes later, Lily found herself sitting at a sleek dining table with a spectacular view of rainy Seattle spread out below, sharing Thai food with a man who, she was increasingly certain, must be considerably wealthy. The penthouse was stunning. Minimalist but luxurious, with floor-to-ceiling windows, original artwork, and furnishings that looked both expensive and comfortable. "So," Ethan said as he served her some pad thai, "how long have you been delivering flowers?" "Actually, I own the shop," Lily replied, then quickly clarified. "It's a small place. My grandmother started it 30 years ago, and I took over last year when she had a stroke. I usually don't do deliveries, but my driver called in sick today." "Petal Perfect, right? I noticed the logo on your shirt," Ethan said. "What made you decide to go into the flower business?" As they ate, Lily found herself sharing more than she'd intended. She told him about growing up in her grandmother's shop, learning the language of flowers, and getting a degree in botany before realizing that what she really wanted was to continue her grandmother's legacy. She explained about the stroke, the mounting medical bills, and her struggle to keep the shop afloat in an era of online flower delivery services and supermarket bouquets. In turn, Ethan shared bits of his own life. He ran a technology company focused on renewable energy solutions. He traveled frequently. He'd recently moved back to Seattle after spending several years in Tokyo expanding his business. "It's strange being back," he admitted. "Everything is familiar but different at the same time." "I know what you mean," Lily said. "After college, I spent 2 years in Portland thinking I wanted something different from the flower shop. When I came back to Seattle, it felt like both everything and nothing had changed." Ethan's phone buzzed, and he glanced at it. "Good news," he said with a smile. Michael delivered the flowers successfully. The birthday girl was apparently delighted, and no one was the wiser about the delay. Relief washed over Lily. "Thank you," she said sincerely. "You really saved me tonight." "Happy to help," Ethan replied. His gray eyes studied her with interest. "You know, I've been looking for a reliable local florist for my corporate events. We host quite a few, and I've never been satisfied with the generic arrangements the event planners usually provide." Lily straightened, her business instincts kicking in despite her fatigue. "What kind of events? And what style of arrangements do you prefer?" As they discussed possibilities, Lily pulled out her phone to show him photos of some of her work. Their conversation shifted easily from business to personal and back again. Ethan was surprisingly easy to talk to, intelligent and engaged without being domineering. He listened when she spoke, really listened, in a way that made her feel like her words mattered. It wasn't until Lily glanced at her watch that she realized it was past 10. "I should go," she said, standing abruptly. "Visiting hours at the hospital ended an hour ago. I didn't realize it was so late." "Let me call Michael to drive you," Ethan offered, already reaching for his phone. "That's not necessary," Lily protested. "I have my delivery van." "Parked in a loading zone 2 blocks away, if I remember correctly," Ethan countered with a small smile. "It's still raining and it's late. Please, let me make sure you get to your car safely." Too tired to argue and secretly relieved not to have to walk through the rain again, Lily nodded. "Thank you. For everything." As they rode down in the elevator, a slightly awkward silence fell between them. What did one say to a wealthy stranger who had just rescued your delivery, fed you dinner, and might potentially become a valuable business client? "I'll have my assistant call your shop tomorrow about those corporate arrangements," Ethan said as the elevator reached the lobby. "If that's all right with you?" "That would be perfect," Lily replied, feeling a flutter of excitement at the prospect of a steady corporate account. Maybe, just maybe, this disastrous day would turn out to be a blessing in disguise. Outside, a sleek black car waited under the covered entrance. Michael, a middle-aged man with a kind face, held the door open for her. "Thank you again for your help with the delivery," Lily said to him. "My pleasure, Miss Chen," he replied with a small bow. The young lady was quite pleased with the flowers. Ethan walked her to the car. "It was nice meeting you, Lily, despite the unusual circumstances," he said, holding out his hand. When Lily placed her hand in his, she felt a small spark of something. Connection, perhaps, or just static electricity from the carpet. Either way, it made her breath catch slightly. "Likewise, Mr. Wright," she said, trying to sound professional. "Ethan, please," he corrected with a warm smile. I think we're past formalities after sharing pad thai and life stories. Ethan, Lily acknowledged with a small nod. Thank you again for your kindness tonight. As Michael drove her back to her van, Lily found herself touching the business card Ethan had pressed into her hand. Ethan Wright, CEO, Wright Sustainable Technologies. She'd heard of the company, of course. It was one of Seattle's fastest-growing tech firms, focused on renewable energy solutions. What she hadn't realized until this moment was that the man she'd just had dinner with was likely worth billions. The realization made her stomach tighten with a mixture of embarrassment and awe. She'd sat in his penthouse in her rain-soaked clothes, sharing takeout and talking about flower arrangements as if they were equals. The thought was both mortifying and strangely exhilarating. When Michael dropped her off at her van, he handed her a small envelope. "Mr. Wright asked me to give you this," he said. Inside was a note written in a strong, clear hand. "Looking forward to working with Petal Perfect. Your passion for your craft is refreshing. Ethan." Lily tucked the note away carefully, telling herself that the warm feeling spreading through her chest was simply professional satisfaction at potentially landing a major client, nothing more. The next morning, Lily arrived at Petal Perfect earlier than usual, determined to prepare for a potential visit from Ethan's assistant. She swept the shop floor, rearranged displays, and prepared a portfolio of her best corporate work. She had just finished when the phone rang. "Petal Perfect, this is Lily speaking." "Lily, it's Ethan Wright." His voice sent an unexpected thrill through her. She'd been expecting an assistant, not the CEO himself. "Mr. Wright." "Ethan, good morning," she managed, grateful he couldn't see the blush spreading across her cheeks. "I hope I'm not calling too early," he said. "I wanted to discuss those arrangements we talked about last night." "Of course," Lily said, slipping into professional mode. "I've prepared some options based on our conversation." "Actually," Ethan said, "I'd prefer to discuss this in person. My schedule is packed with meetings today, but I was wondering if you might be available to bring some samples to my office tomorrow, say around noon. We're having a small gathering for a product launch next week, and I'd like to start there." By the time Lily hung up, she had an appointment at Wright Sustainable Technologies headquarters the following day, and a flutter of butterflies in her stomach that had nothing to do with business. That evening, as Lily sat beside her grandmother's hospital bed, arranging the fresh flowers she'd brought, she found herself telling Gran about the strange encounter. "He sounds nice, this Mr. Wright," her grandmother said, patting Lily's hand. Her speech was still slightly slurred from the stroke, but her mind remained sharp. "He is," Lily admitted. "But Gran, he's not just some nice guy. He's Ethan Wright." "The Ethan Wright. His company is valued at billions." Her grandmother's eyes twinkled. "And you think that makes him different from other men?" "Of course it does," Lily insisted. "He lives in a different world. People like him don't usually, "Don't usually what?" Gran pressed. "Eat Thai food? Help strangers? Take an interest in talented young women who work hard and care about their craft?" Lily sighed. "You know what I mean." "I do," her grandmother said, her voice gentle. "But Lily, money doesn't define a person's character. It just amplifies who they already are. A kind person with money has more opportunities to show kindness. A selfish person with money has more opportunities to be selfish." Lily considered this as she adjusted a stem in the arrangement. "He seemed genuine," she finally admitted. "Not what I would have expected." "Then maybe you should adjust your expectations," Gran suggested with a small smile. "And maybe wear that pretty green blouse tomorrow. The one that matches your eyes." "Gran," Lily protested, but she was already mentally adding the blouse to her outfit for the meeting. That night, as Lily lay in bed in the small apartment she shared with Min, she couldn't help thinking about Ethan. There had been a moment during dinner when he talked about his work with sustainable energy, his gray eyes lighting up with passion as he described a new solar technology his company was developing. In that moment, he hadn't seemed like a billionaire CEO, but simply a man who cared deeply about making a difference in the world. It reminded her of how she felt about flowers. The joy of creating something beautiful that could brighten someone's day, express emotions when words failed, or mark life's most significant moments. Passion was passion, regardless of whether it was for renewable energy or floral design. With that thought, Lily drifted off to sleep, dreaming of roses delivered to the wrong address and gray eyes that saw past her rain-soaked appearance to the person beneath. The next morning, Lily spent extra time getting ready, carefully selecting not only the sample arrangements she would bring, but also her outfit, including, yes, the green blouse that Gran had suggested. She arrived at Wright Sustainable Technologies headquarters 15 minutes early, sample arrangements carefully packed in the delivery van. The building was impressive but not ostentatious. A modern structure of glass and sustainable materials with solar panels visible on the roof and living walls of plants in the lobby. At the reception desk, Lily gave her name and was immediately directed to the executive floor. Ethan's assistant, a friendly woman named Sarah, greeted her warmly. "Mr. Wright is just finishing a call," she explained. "He asked me to show you to the conference room where the event will be held so you can get a feel for the space." The conference room was actually more of a rooftop terrace, with stunning views of the city and Puget Sound beyond. Glass walls could be closed in case of bad weather, but today the space was open to the gentle spring breeze. "We'll have about 50 guests," Sarah explained. "Mostly investors and partners for our new solar initiative. Mr. Wright mentioned you discussed sustainability in your arrangements?" "Yes," Lily confirmed, already envisioning how her designs would complement the space. "I've brought several options that use locally grown seasonal flowers in reusable or biodegradable containers." She was so absorbed in explaining her concepts to Sarah that she didn't notice Ethan's arrival until his voice came from behind her. "Those look perfect." Lily turned to find him standing in the doorway, looking even more handsome in a well-tailored suit than he had in casual clothes. His smile was warm as he approached to examine the sample arrangements she'd brought. "These capture exactly what we discussed," he said, studying a modern design of local spring blooms arranged in a container made from recycled glass. Clean, elegant, but with personality. Not the generic corporate arrangements I was dreading. "I'm glad you like them," Lily said, trying to maintain her professional composure, despite the way her heart raced when he stood close. "I can adjust any elements to better match your vision for the event." "No need," Ethan said. "I trust your judgment. You clearly understand what we're trying to convey." They spent the next hour discussing quantities, placement, and logistics for the event. Throughout their conversation, Lily was struck by how Ethan treated her not as a vendor or service provider, but as a creative partner whose expertise he valued. He asked questions about her design choices, listened to her suggestions, and deferred to her knowledge about which flowers would hold up best in the space. When they finished, Ethan walked her back to the elevator. "Would you like to stay for lunch?" he asked suddenly. "Our chef makes an amazing spring salad with edible flowers. I thought you might appreciate it." The invitation caught Lily off guard. This felt less like a business lunch and more like something else. Something she wasn't sure she should encourage. "I should get back to the shop," she said reluctantly. "We have 3 wedding consultations this afternoon." "Another time, then," Ethan said, and it wasn't quite a question. "I'll have Sarah finalize the contract for next week's event and send it over this afternoon." As Lily drove back to Petal Perfect, she couldn't stop thinking about Ethan Wright. There was something about him that intrigued her. Not his wealth or status, but the person beneath. The man who had helped a bedraggled florist deliver roses to the right address, who spoke about sustainable energy with genuine passion, who seemed to see her as an equal despite the vast differences in their circumstances. It was just business, she reminded herself firmly, an important client who appreciated her work. Nothing more. But when the contract arrived by courier that afternoon, Lily couldn't help noticing that the agreed-upon fee had been increased by 20%, with a note that simply read, "Quality deserves proper compensation. Looking forward to working together. E." The gesture was both professional and thoughtful, recognizing her value without making it feel like charity. Despite her best efforts, Lily found herself looking forward to seeing Ethan again at the upcoming event, and wondering if perhaps their paths were crossing for a reason greater than a simple delivery mix-up. The day of the corporate event arrived, and Lily found herself both excited and nervous as she supervised the installation of her floral arrangements at Wright Sustainable Technologies. She had brought her assistant, Mai, to help with the setup, but Lily insisted on placing each arrangement herself, ensuring every detail was perfect. "These are gorgeous," Mai whispered as they arranged a stunning centerpiece of locally grown tulips and wildflowers on the main table. "No wonder they paid premium prices." "They appreciate quality," Lily replied, adjusting a stem slightly. "Mr. Wright understands the value of sustainability in everything, including flowers." Speaking of Mr. Wright, Mai nudged her gently, nodding toward the entrance where Ethan had appeared. Even from across the room, his presence commanded attention. He wore a charcoal gray suit that complemented his eyes, moving with that easy confidence that Lily had noticed the first time they met. When he spotted her, his face brightened with a smile that sent an unexpected flutter through her chest. "Lily," he said, crossing the room to greet her. "These arrangements are even more impressive than I imagined. You've transformed the space." "Thank you," she replied, trying to maintain professional composure despite the warmth in his gaze. "The natural light here really brings out the colors in the flowers." "I knew you were the right choice," Ethan said, his eyes never leaving hers. "Would you mind joining me for a moment? There's someone I'd like you to meet." Curious, Lily followed him across the rooftop terrace to where an elegant older woman stood admiring one of the arrangements. "Mother," Ethan said, "this is Lily Chen, the florist I mentioned. Lily, this is my mother, Vivian Wright." "A pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Wright," Lily said, extending her hand. Vivian Wright had the same striking gray eyes as her son, though her hair was silver rather than dark. She took Lily's hand with a warm smile. "The pleasure is mine, dear. Ethan has spoken quite highly of your work, and I can see why. These arrangements are exquisite." "Mother is something of a flower enthusiast," Ethan explained. "She used to be on the board of the botanical gardens." "Until I retired to focus on my own garden," Vivian added. "I'm particularly impressed with your use of native species. So many florists rely on imported blooms with no consideration for sustainability." Before Lily could respond, Vivian continued, "You must come see my garden sometime. I've been experimenting with rare Pacific Northwest varieties that might interest you." "I'd love that," Lily replied, genuinely excited by the invitation despite her surprise. She hadn't expected Ethan's mother to be so approachable. "Excellent," Vivian said with a decisive nod. "Ethan, make sure it happens." With that, she excused herself to greet another guest, leaving Lily and Ethan alone. "Sorry about that," Ethan said with a slight smile. "Mother tends to adopt people who share her interests." "No need to apologize," Lily assured him. "She seems lovely." "She is," Ethan agreed, though she can be rather determined once she sets her mind to something. There was something in his tone that suggested this quality had caused him some challenges in the past. Guests began arriving, and Lily stepped back to let Ethan fulfill his role as host. She busied herself with making final adjustments to the arrangements and directing Mai on which vases needed fresh water. Throughout the event, she couldn't help noticing how Ethan moved through the crowd, confident but not arrogant, attentive to each person he spoke with, just as he had been with her. Several times she caught him glancing in her direction, and each time their eyes met, he smiled that same warm smile that seemed meant just for her. It was disconcerting, this connection she felt with a man she barely knew, a man whose world was so different from her own. As the event wound down, Ethan approached her again. "Everything was perfect," he said. "I've already received numerous compliments on the flowers." "I'm glad they were well received," Lily replied, gathering her supplies. "Your guests seemed impressed with the new solar technology as well." "You were listening to my presentation?" Ethan asked, looking pleased. Lily nodded. "It was fascinating. The idea that solar panels could be integrated into everyday objects without sacrificing aesthetics. It's similar to what I try to do with sustainable floristry, blending beauty with environmental responsibility." Something flickered in Ethan's eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or appreciation. "Exactly," he said softly. "That's exactly it." A comfortable silence fell between them, broken when Mai approached to tell Lily their van was loaded and ready to go. "I should get back to the shop," Lily said reluctantly. "Before you go," Ethan said, "I wanted to ask if you might be available to handle the flowers for another event. A more personal one this time. My mother's birthday celebration next weekend. It's a small garden party at her home." "I'd be happy to," Lily replied, trying to ignore the leap of excitement she felt at the prospect of seeing him again. "Excellent," Ethan said. "Why don't you come by my office tomorrow afternoon to discuss the details? Say around 4. We could go over ideas over tea." That sounded suspiciously like something more than a business meeting, but Lily found herself agreeing before she could overthink it. The next day, Lily spent extra time selecting her outfit, a simple floral dress that was pretty without being too formal, and arrived at Wright Sustainable Technologies precisely at 4. To her surprise, Ethan's assistant led her not to his office, but to a small rooftop garden on the building. Ethan was waiting, his suit jacket discarded and sleeves rolled up, looking more relaxed than she had seen him at the corporate event. A small table had been set with a teapot, cups, and an assortment of pastries. "I hope you don't mind," he said, standing as she approached. It seemed a shame to be indoors on such a beautiful day, especially when discussing flowers. "It's perfect," Lily assured him, taking the seat he offered. The garden was lovely, a thoughtfully designed space with native plants and small trees that created a peaceful oasis above the busy city. As Ethan poured tea, Lily noticed calluses on his hands, unexpected for a CEO. Seeing her glance, he smiled. "Weekend woodworking hobby," he explained, "helps me think." This small glimpse into his personal life intrigued her. "What do you make?" "Furniture mostly," he replied, passing her a cup. "My apartment is full of rather amateur pieces that no interior designer would approve of, but I find the process meditative." They spent the next hour discussing ideas for his mother's birthday celebration, but the conversation frequently veered into more personal territory. Lily found herself telling him about her parents, her American father and Chinese mother who had met while studying botany, their early deaths in a car accident when she was in college, and how her grandmother had become her only family. In turn, Ethan shared stories about growing up as the only child of accomplished parents, his father, a renowned engineer who had passed away 5 years ago, and his mother, a botanist-turned-business executive who had helped build Wright Technologies from the ground up. "She stepped back when I took over as CEO," Ethan explained, "but she's still on the board and doesn't hesitate to share her opinions." "She sounds formidable," Lily commented. "She is," Ethan agreed with a fond smile, "but also incredibly supportive. After my father died, she was the one who encouraged me to pursue sustainable energy rather than the more profitable defense contracts the company had traditionally relied on." As the afternoon light began to fade, Lily reluctantly noted the time. "I should go. I promised to visit my grandmother at the hospital before dinner." "Of course," Ethan said, standing. "How is she doing?" The genuine concern in his voice touched Lily. "Better, but recovery is slow. The doctors are hopeful she'll be able to move to a rehabilitation facility soon." Ethan walked her to the elevator, and as they waited, he seemed to be considering something. Finally, he said, "Lily, I've enjoyed talking with you these past few days. Would you have dinner with me tomorrow night? Not to discuss business, just dinner." His directness caught her off guard. "Are you asking me on a date?" she blurted before she could stop herself. Ethan's lips curved into a smile. "Yes, I believe I am. Is that okay?" 1,000 reasons why this was a bad idea flashed through Lily's mind. Their different worlds, her complicated life with the shop and her grandmother's care, the likelihood that someone like him would quickly lose interest in someone like her. But despite all those reasons, she found herself nodding. "Yes," she said softly. "That would be nice." The smile that lit his face made her heart skip. "I'll pick you up at 7. Text me your address." As Lily rode the elevator down to the lobby, she couldn't quite believe what had just happened. She, Lily Chen, overworked Florist with dirt perpetually under her fingernails, had a date with Ethan Wright, Billionaire CEO, and one of Seattle's most eligible bachelors. What was she thinking? At the hospital that evening, her grandmother took one look at her distracted expression and demanded to know what was happening. When Lily confessed about the dinner invitation, Gran merely smiled. "About time," she said, patting Lily's hand. "I was beginning to think he was a bit slow." "Gran!" Lily protested. "It's just dinner. It doesn't mean anything." "Of course not." her grandmother replied with a knowing smile that suggested she believed exactly the opposite. Back at her apartment, Lily found her roommate Min equally excited by the development. "I knew something was going on," Min exclaimed. "You've been smiling at your phone for days." "It's not a big deal," Lily insisted, though the flutter in her stomach suggested otherwise. "It's just dinner." "With Ethan Wright," Min emphasized. The Ethan Wright, whose company is revolutionizing renewable energy, who was on the cover of Forbes last year, who could probably buy this entire building without checking his bank account. "When you put it that way, it sounds terrifying," Lily groaned, flopping onto the couch. "What am I doing, Min? We live in completely different worlds." Min sat beside her, expressions softening. "Maybe that's exactly why you should give this a chance. Your world has been pretty small since your grandmother got sick. Just the shop, the hospital, this apartment. Maybe it's time to expand your horizons a bit." "But someone like him," Lily began, "is still just a person," Min finished for her. "A person who seems to like you for who you are." "That's rare, Lily. In any world." The next evening, Lily found herself changing outfits for the third time, finally settling on a simple emerald dress that her grandmother had given her last Christmas. It was the nicest thing she owned, though probably still modest by the standards of women Ethan usually dated. At precisely 7, her phone buzzed with a text, quote, "I'm outside." Taking a deep breath, Lily grabbed her purse and headed downstairs. She had expected a chauffeur-driven luxury car, but instead found Ethan leaning against a vintage Aston Martin, looking devastatingly handsome in dark pants and a light blue shirt that made his gray eyes even more striking. "You look beautiful," he said simply as she approached. "Thank you," Lily replied, suddenly shy. "Nice car." "My father's," Ethan explained as he opened the passenger door for her. He restored it himself. "I only drive it on special occasions." The comment, casual but deliberate, made it clear that this evening was significant to him. It was both flattering and slightly terrifying. As they drove through the city, Lily expected they would head toward one of Seattle's exclusive restaurants. Instead, Ethan took them south, away from downtown. "Where are we going?" she finally asked. "A place I think you'll like," he replied with a slight smile. "Trust me?" 20 minutes later, they pulled up in front of a small, unassuming restaurant in a neighborhood Lily knew well. It was only a few blocks from Petal Perfect. "Mai's Garden?" she asked in surprise, recognizing the family-owned Vietnamese restaurant she often ordered takeout from. "You know this place?" "Not personally," Ethan admitted as he held the door for her. "But you mentioned it was your favorite when we were discussing dinner options at my mother's party. You said they grow their own herbs and the owner reminds you of your grandmother." The fact that he had remembered such a small detail from their conversation and had chosen this place over some exclusive establishment touched Lily deeply. It spoke of an attentiveness she hadn't expected. Inside, the owner, Mrs. Tran, greeted Lily with familiar warmth before leading them to a quiet corner table. "Your young man called earlier," she confided to Lily with a wink. "Asked for your favorite table and dishes. Very thoughtful." Before Lily could correct the "your young man" assumption, Mrs. Tran had bustled away, leaving her slightly flustered. Across the table, Ethan looked amused but didn't comment on the misunderstanding. Throughout dinner, Lily was struck by how easily conversation flowed between them. Ethan asked thoughtful questions about her work, her dreams for expanding Petal Perfect, and her relationship with her grandmother. He listened with genuine interest, never checking his phone or seeming distracted as so many of her previous dates had been. In turn, she found herself fascinated by his stories, not of boardrooms and business deals, but of his passion projects developing solar technology for underserved communities, his love of classical music, and his quiet determination to build something meaningful with his inherited wealth and privilege. "Most people expect me to be either a ruthless corporate shark or a spoiled trust fund kid," Ethan confessed over dessert. "They rarely take the time to see beyond the right name and bank account." "Their loss," Lily said softly. "There's clearly much more to you than that." His eyes met hers, warm with appreciation. "That's what drew me to you from the start, you know," When you showed up at my door with those roses, soaking wet and clearly exhausted, you didn't change your demeanor when you realized whose penthouse you were in. You treated me like a person, not a portfolio. I was too tired to be properly intimidated, Lily joked, though his words touched her. No, Ethan shook his head. It's who you are. Authentic, real. Do you know how rare that is in my world? After dinner, neither of them seemed ready for the evening to end. They walked along the waterfront, talking about everything and nothing. Favorite books, childhood memories, dreams for the future. When Ethan tentatively took her hand, Lily found herself intertwining her fingers with his, the simple contact sending a pleasant warmth through her. I have a confession, Ethan said as they stood looking out over the water, the lights of the city reflecting on its surface. What's that? Lily asked, turning to face him. I've been interested in you since that first night, he admitted, but I was afraid you'd think I was just another rich guy throwing his weight around if I asked you out right away. That's why I created all these business reasons to see you. Lily couldn't help but smile. You orchestrated corporate events and your mother's birthday party just to spend time with me? Well, the corporate event was already planned, Ethan clarified with a sheepish grin. But I did specifically seek out a new florist for it, and my mother's birthday isn't actually for 3 months. The admission was both amusing and touching. This powerful man, who could have anything or anyone he wanted, had gone to such lengths just to get to know her better. Why me? Lily asked softly. The question that had been nagging at her since he first asked her to dinner. You could date models or executives or anyone, really. Ethan was quiet for a moment, his gray eyes serious as they held hers. Because you see beauty in simple things, he finally said. Because you work with your hands and care about making the world a little better through your craft. Because when you talk about flowers, your whole face lights up with the same passion I feel when talking about renewable energy. He stepped closer, his free hand coming up to gently touch her cheek. Because from the moment you walked into my penthouse with roses meant for someone else, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. The sincerity in his voice, the tenderness in his touch, they broke through the last of Lily's reservations. When he leaned down to kiss her, she met him halfway, her heart racing as their lips touched. It was a gentle kiss, questioning rather than demanding, but it sent electricity through her veins. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. I'd like to see where this goes, he whispered. If you're willing. Despite all the reasons this was complicated, their different worlds, her responsibilities, the likelihood of heartbreak, Lily found herself nodding. I'd like that too, she admitted. As he drove her home later that night, Lily felt as though she'd stepped into someone else's life. Someone whose world included billionaire CEOs who drove vintage sports cars and kissed like they'd been waiting their whole lives for that moment. Yet when Ethan walked her to her door and kissed her goodnight with a tenderness that made her toes curl, it didn't feel like someone else's life at all. It felt, strangely enough, like exactly where she was meant to be. The next morning at Petal Perfect, Lily couldn't stop smiling as she arranged a bridal bouquet. The memory of Ethan's kiss, the warmth in his eyes when he'd looked at her, the promise of seeing him again soon, they all swirled through her mind, making even the most mundane tasks seem somehow brighter. Someone had a good date, Mai observed as she came in for her shift. Spill the details! Before Lily could respond, the shop door opened, and a delivery person entered carrying a large package. Delivery for Lily Chen, he announced. Curious, Lily signed for the package and opened it to find an exquisite bonsai tree, a miniature Japanese maple with delicate red leaves, planted in a handmade ceramic pot. The card simply read, "Something beautiful that lasts. Dinner again tonight? E." "Oh my God," Mai breathed, looking over Lily's shoulder. "He sent you a bonsai. That's not flowers that die in a week. That's a living thing that needs years of care. That's commitment." "It's just a plant," Lily protested, though her heart was racing. The thoughtfulness of the gift, something that combined her love of plants with a nod toward permanence, wasn't lost on her. She texted Ethan, "The bonsai is beautiful. Yes, to dinner." His response came almost immediately. "Not as beautiful as you. I'll pick you up at 7. As Lily placed the bonsai in the perfect spot near the shop window, she couldn't help wondering where this unexpected connection might lead. A billionaire CEO and a struggling florist. It sounded like the plot of a romantic movie, not real life. Yet the way Ethan looked at her, the way he listened when she spoke, the way he seemed to value the very qualities she thought made her ordinary, it all felt more real than anything she'd experienced before. Whatever happened next, Lily was increasingly certain that delivering those roses to the wrong address might have been the best mistake she'd ever made. Over the next few weeks, Lily's life transformed in ways she could never have imagined. What began as a simple dinner date evolved into something deeper, as she and Ethan spent increasingly more time together. They fell into a comfortable routine. Dinners after she closed the shop, weekend outings to explore hidden corners of Seattle, quiet evenings at his penthouse or her apartment. To Lily's surprise, Ethan seemed perfectly content in her modest world. He sat comfortably at her small kitchen table while she cooked simple meals, chatted easily with men when they crossed paths, and never once made her feel self-conscious about the differences in their lifestyles. "You're good for him," Ethan Wright commented one afternoon as Lily arranged flowers for a small dinner party at her home. The elegant older woman had become a surprising ally, taking a genuine interest in both Lily's floral designs and her grandmother's recovery. "What makes you say that?" Lily asked, curious about this insight into Ethan from someone who knew him so well. Vivian considered the question as she handed Lily a sprig of lavender from her garden. "Ethan has always carried a sense of responsibility for the company, for our family legacy, for the employees who depend on him. It's made him serious, perhaps too serious at times." She smiled softly. "But with you," he laughs. "I hadn't realized how rarely that happened until I started seeing it again." The observation touched Lily deeply. She had noticed Ethan's tendency toward intensity, the way he analyzed problems and carried the weight of decisions that affected thousands of people. The moments when she could make him laugh, when his face relaxed and his eyes crinkled at the corners, had become some of her favorites. "He makes me laugh too," Lily admitted. "And he listens, really listens, when I talk about things that most people would find boring, like the difference between Japanese and Chinese flower arranging techniques." "That's because he sees you," Vivian said simply. "Not what you represent or what you can do for him, but you. It's a rare quality, one he inherited from his father." Later that evening, as Ethan drove Lily back to her apartment after the dinner party, she found herself studying his profile in the dim light of the car. This man, who commanded boardrooms and managed billions, had spent his Saturday afternoon helping her grandmother move from the hospital to a rehabilitation facility, carrying boxes and adjusting pillows with the same care he gave to everything important in his life. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan asked, catching her gaze. "You," Lily answered honestly. "How different you are from what I expected." "Is that good or bad?" he asked, a slight smile playing at his lips. "Definitely good," she assured him. "I expected arrogance and entitlement. Instead, I got kindness and humility." "Don't give me too much credit," Ethan warned as he parked in front of her building. "I'm still capable of being stubborn and demanding when things don't go my way." "Show me someone who isn't," Lily countered, leaning across to kiss his cheek. When they reached her door, Ethan hesitated. They had been taking things slowly, neither rushing toward physical intimacy despite the clear attraction between them. "Would you like to come in?" Lily asked softly. Something darkened in Ethan's eyes. Desire, certainly, but also a tenderness that made her heart race. "Are you sure?" In answer, Lily took his hand and led him inside. Later, lying in her narrow bed with Ethan's arms around her, Lily felt a sense of rightness that transcended the physical pleasure they had shared. There was an emotional intimacy to the way he had touched her, a reverence in his kisses that spoke of feelings deeper than mere attraction. "I never expected you," Ethan murmured against her hair. "I had my life all planned out. The company, my projects, maybe eventually a suitable marriage to someone from my social circle. And then you showed up at my door with roses meant for someone else, and suddenly all those plans seemed empty." Lily traced the line of his jaw with her fingertips. I never expected you either. After my parents died and Gran got sick, I stopped thinking about my own happiness. It was easier to focus on work and responsibilities than to hope for something more. And now? Ethan asked, his gray eyes serious in the dim light of her bedroom. Now I'm starting to believe that maybe I can have both responsibilities and happiness. That they're not mutually exclusive. The smile that lit his face was worth every moment of uncertainty she had felt about letting him into her life, her heart. When he kissed her again, Lily felt as though they were sealing a promise neither had explicitly made, but both understood. This was no casual affair, but the beginning of something substantial and lasting. The next morning, Lily woke to find Ethan already dressed, sitting at her small desk with his laptop open. Sorry, he said when he noticed her watching him. Early meeting I couldn't reschedule. I didn't want to wake you. It's okay, she assured him, touched that he had stayed despite his busy schedule. I need to open the shop soon anyway. As they shared a quick breakfast of toast and coffee, Lily was struck by how natural it felt, this domestic moment with a man she had known for just over a month. There was none of the awkwardness she had experienced in previous relationships, no sense that they were playing roles or trying to impress each other. Just two people, comfortable in each other's presence, starting their day together. It was a glimpse of what could be, and the possibility both thrilled and terrified her. At Petal Perfect that day, Lily found herself humming as she worked on arrangements for a wedding. The shop was beginning to thrive under her care, with new customers drawn in by the Wright Sustainable Technologies account and word of mouth about her distinctive sustainable designs. You're in a good mood, Mai observed as she helped prepare boutonnieres. Things must be going well with your billionaire. He's not my billionaire, Lily protested automatically, though she couldn't suppress a smile. No? Mai raised an eyebrow. Then why is his car parked outside again? Lily looked up in surprise to see Ethan's Aston Martin at the curb. He rarely visited the shop during business hours, knowing how busy she was. When the bell above the door jingled and he stepped inside, the expression on his face immediately concerned her. He looked troubled, even upset. Ethan? Is everything okay? He glanced at Mai, then back to Lily. Can we talk privately for a moment? Heart racing, Lily led him to the small office at the back of the shop. Had he regretted last night? Was he here to end things before they got more serious? Once the door closed behind them, Ethan ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she had come to recognize as a sign of agitation. I just came from meeting with my mother and the board, he began. And? Lily prompted when he paused. They're sending me to Tokyo, Ethan said, his gray eyes troubled. The Nakamura deal, our biggest international partnership, is falling apart. They need me there to salvage it personally. Relief flooded through Lily. This wasn't about them at all. That's okay, she said, reaching for his hand. How long will you be gone? That's just it, Ethan replied, squeezing her fingers. It's not a quick trip. The negotiations will take at least 3 months, possibly longer. 3 months? Lily echoed, the reality sinking in. They had barely been apart for 3 days since they started dating. Ethan nodded grimly. I tried to find another solution, but I'm the only one with the relationships in place to make this work. The partnership is critical for our expansion into the Asian market. When do you leave? Lily asked, already calculating how this would affect their relationship. 3 months was a long time for a new romance, especially one that had progressed as quickly as theirs. That's the other thing, Ethan said, looking even more troubled. They want me on a plane tonight. The words hit Lily like a physical blow. Tonight? No time to process, no proper goodbye? I know it's sudden, Ethan continued, clearly reading the shock on her face. And I hate leaving like this, especially after last night. But thousands of jobs depend on this deal, including many here in Seattle. Lily took a deep breath, pushing aside her personal disappointment to focus on what Ethan must be feeling. The pressure of such responsibility. The conflict between his personal desires and professional obligations. I understand, she said softly. Really, I do. Your work is important. Relief flickered across his face, followed quickly by determination. Come with me, he said suddenly. What? Lily blinked in surprise. Come to Tokyo, Ethan repeated, taking both her hands in his. I know it's crazy and sudden, but I don't want to be apart from you for 3 months. Not when we're just starting. For a moment, Lily allowed herself to imagine it. Exploring Tokyo with Ethan, experiencing a culture she had always wanted to visit, building their relationship away from the pressures and differences of their lives in Seattle. Reality intruded quickly. I can't just leave, Ethan. The shop, my grandmother's rehabilitation. I have responsibilities here. I know, he acknowledged, disappointment evident in his voice, though he tried to hide it. It was a crazy idea. You just, what? Lily prompted when he trailed off. I just don't want to lose what we're building, Ethan admitted, vulnerability clear in his eyes. 3 months is a long time, and what we have is still new. I'm afraid things will be different when I come back. The honesty of his concern touched Lily deeply. This confident, powerful man was standing in her tiny office, afraid of losing her. It spoke volumes about what she had come to mean to him in such a short time. We'll make it work, she promised, reaching up to touch his face. 3 months isn't forever. We'll call and text and video chat. And when you come back, I'll be here, ready to pick up where we left off. Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as if trying to memorize the feel of her. I'm going to miss you so much, he murmured against her hair. I'll miss you too, Lily whispered, fighting back tears. She had known from the start that dating someone like Ethan would come with complications. She just hadn't expected to face them so soon. That evening, Lily accompanied Ethan to his penthouse to help him pack and say a proper goodbye. As he moved efficiently around the bedroom, selecting suits and casual clothes for an extended stay, she wandered the space that had become familiar over the past weeks, trying to commit it to memory. Take this, Ethan said suddenly, holding out a small key. The penthouse will be empty while I'm gone. Use it if you want a quiet place to read, or just get away from everything. The doorman knows you now. There won't be any issues. Lily hesitated, the key small but weighty in her palm. It represented a level of trust, of integration into his life that felt significant. Are you sure? Completely, Ethan assured her. Actually, I was thinking of asking you to water my plants, but that seems ridiculous given your expertise. They'd probably flourish too much and stage a coup while I'm gone. His attempt at humor broke the tension, making Lily laugh despite the heaviness in her heart. This was the man she had fallen for, thoughtful even in difficult moments, able to find lightness when things seemed dark. When it was time for him to leave for the airport, their goodbye was bittersweet. Passionate kisses mingled with whispered promises to stay connected despite the distance and time difference. Lily fought back tears as she watched his car pull away, already feeling the emptiness his absence would create in her newly expanded life. The first few weeks of separation were the hardest. Lily threw herself into work, taking on additional weddings and events to fill the hours she would have spent with Ethan. Each night, despite the 13-hour time difference, they spoke via video call, he from his Tokyo hotel room in the morning, she from her apartment in the evening. You look tired, Lily observed during one such call, noting the shadows under his eyes. Are the negotiations that difficult? Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. The business part is actually going well. It's the constant socializing that's exhausting. Late dinners, karaoke nights, golf outings. Building relationships is as important as the contract details here. Karaoke? Lily couldn't help but smile at the image of buttoned-up Ethan singing in a Tokyo bar. Please tell me someone took video. Thankfully, no. He laughed, the sound warming her even across thousands of miles. Though I did have to sing My Way after too much sake last night. It wasn't pretty. These glimpses into his daily life helped bridge the distance, making Lily feel connected despite the physical separation. In turn, she shared her own small triumphs. A successful pitch for a major hotel contract, improvements in her grandmother's mobility, the new part-time employee she had hired to help manage the shop's growing business. I'm proud of you, Ethan told her one night, his gray eyes sincere even through the slightly pixelated video. You're building something amazing with Petal Perfect. I learned from the best, Lily replied with a smile. My grandmother always said that success comes from passion and persistence, not just talent. Smart woman, Ethan nodded. I can't wait to get to know her better when I'm back. The casual mention of future plans, of integration into each other's lives beyond their current separation, gave Lily hope. Despite the distance, their connection was growing rather than fading. 6 weeks into Ethan's time in Tokyo, however, Lily faced a crisis that tested their relationship in unexpected ways. Her grandmother's medical bills from the rehabilitation facility arrived, and despite the insurance coverage, the out-of-pocket expenses were far more than Lily had anticipated. At the same time, a pipe burst in the shop, damaging inventory and forcing a 3-day closure for repairs. Sitting at her kitchen table, surrounded by bills she couldn't possibly pay all at once, Lily felt overwhelmed. Her first instinct was to call Ethan. He would know what to do, would offer support and perspective, but it was the middle of the night in Tokyo, and more importantly, she hesitated to burden him with her financial problems. He could solve them with a single phone call, a single transfer from one of his many accounts. But that was exactly what she had been determined to avoid from the start, becoming the struggling girlfriend who needed financial rescue from her wealthy boyfriend. Her pride and independence had always been important to her. They were part of what Ethan valued in her. Instead, Lily called her bank, negotiated payment plans, maxed out her credit card for the shop repairs, and spent a sleepless night worrying about how she would manage it all. The next morning, during their regular video call, Ethan immediately noticed her exhaustion. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. "You look like you haven't slept." Lily hesitated, then decided that honesty was essential for any relationship with a future. She explained the situation, not asking for help, just sharing the challenges she was facing. Ethan listened without interrupting, his expression growing increasingly troubled. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Let me help," he finally said, his voice gentle but firm. "Ethan." "No." Lily shook her head. "I didn't tell you this to ask for money." "I know you didn't," he assured her. "That's one of the many reasons I love you." The words hung between them, the first time either had spoken them aloud. Lily's breath caught in her throat. "You love me?" she whispered. Ethan's smile was tender, even through the digital connection. "Of course I do. I've been falling in love with you since you showed up at my door with roses meant for someone else. I was planning to tell you in person when I returned, but yes, Lily Chen, I love you." Tears filled Lily's eyes. Happy tears despite her exhaustion and stress. "I love you too," she admitted, the words feeling both momentous and completely natural. Ethan's expression softened further at her words. "Then please, let me help. Not because I'm trying to control you, or because I think you can't handle your own problems, but because that's what people who love each other do. They support each other through difficult times." Put that way, it was hard for Lily to maintain her resistance. Would she hesitate to help him if their situations were reversed? Of course not. "Okay," she finally agreed. "But as a loan, not a gift. I'll pay you back." "We can discuss terms later," Ethan said diplomatically, clearly willing to concede this point to respect her pride. "For now, I'll have my assistant transfer funds to cover the immediate expenses. And Lily, thank you for trusting me enough to share this with me. It means more than you know." After they ended the call, Lily sat quietly in her apartment, processing what had just happened. They had declared their love for each other, a major milestone in any relationship, but especially meaningful given the distance separating them. And she had accepted his help, crossing a boundary she had been determined to maintain. Yet strangely, she didn't feel diminished by accepting his assistance. Instead, she felt supported in a way that respected her independence while acknowledging their connection. It wasn't about his money or her need, but about two people who loved each other finding ways to navigate life's challenges together. The next day, a large package arrived at Petal Perfect. Not money, as Lily had expected, but an exquisite collection of traditional Japanese floral art tools and rare botanical texts. The note read simply, "Thought these might inspire you. The financial matters are handled separately. This is just because I saw them and thought of you. Missing you more each day. Love, E." The thoughtfulness of the gift, related to her passion rather than her problems, brought tears to Lily's eyes. Ethan understood her in ways no one else ever had, recognizing that her work wasn't just a job but a calling, a creative outlet, a connection to her family heritage. As promised, the funds to cover her grandmother's medical bills and the shop repairs appeared in her account that same day, listed as a business loan with favorable terms. It was Ethan's way of helping while respecting her need for independence, a balance that demonstrated his understanding of who she was at her core. With these immediate concerns addressed, Lily found new energy to focus on growing Petal Perfect. She spent evenings studying the Japanese floral art techniques from the books Ethan had sent, incorporating elements into her designs, and creating a new signature style that began attracting attention from high-end clients. By the time Ethan had been gone for 10 weeks, Lily had not only stabilized her financial situation but had expanded the shop's client base significantly. Her grandmother had progressed enough in rehabilitation to move into an assisted living apartment where she could have more independence while still receiving necessary care. And most importantly, despite the physical distance, Lily's relationship with Ethan had deepened through their daily conversations and mutual support. "I have news," Ethan announced during one of their video calls, looking more excited than she had seen him in weeks. "The negotiations are wrapping up sooner than expected. I should be home within 2 weeks." "Really?" Lily couldn't keep the joy from her voice. "That's wonderful." "There's more," Ethan continued, his expression shifting to something more serious. "When I get back, there are things I want to talk about. Important things about our future, but I'd rather have that conversation in person." Lily's heart raced at his words. Their future. It sounded both thrilling and terrifying. A commitment beyond what they had explicitly discussed before his departure. "I'll be here," she promised softly. "Waiting." As she ended the call, Lily found herself wondering what exactly Ethan wanted to discuss. Was he thinking about taking their relationship to the next level? Or had his time in Tokyo made him realize that their worlds were too different after all? Only time would tell, and for the first time in her life, Lily found herself both dreading and eagerly anticipating what the future might hold. The morning of Ethan's return to Seattle dawned with uncharacteristically clear skies, as if the city itself was celebrating his homecoming. Lily had been counting down the days, crossing them off on the small calendar in her apartment with increasing anticipation. 3 months had felt like an eternity, despite their daily video calls and constant messages. She had debated whether to meet him at the airport, but ultimately decided against it. His flight was arriving at 7 a.m., and he would likely be exhausted from the long journey. Instead, they had agreed he would rest, and they would meet for dinner that evening, a proper reunion after their time apart. Lily arrived at Petal Perfect earlier than usual, channeling her nervous energy into creating special arrangements for the shop windows. She had transformed the business during Ethan's absence, expanding their offerings to include the Japanese-inspired designs she had developed, using the tools and techniques he had sent her. The new style had attracted attention from design magazines and high-end clients, bringing an influx of orders that had necessitated hiring 2 additional part-time employees. "Someone's excited," Mai commented, as she arrived for her shift, noticing Lily's extra attention to detail as she positioned a particularly stunning arrangement of cherry blossoms and local spring flowers in the front window. "Is it that obvious?" Lily asked, adjusting a stem slightly. "Only to everyone with eyes," Mai teased. "You've been glowing all week. What time does his flight get in?" "It landed about an hour ago," Lily replied, checking her phone for the 10th time that morning. No messages yet, which wasn't surprising. Ethan had promised to text when he was settled at his penthouse. As if summoned by her thoughts, her phone buzzed with a message. "Landed safely. Can't wait to see you tonight. I've missed you more than words can say." The simple text made Lily's heart race. Tonight couldn't come soon enough. The day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Lily threw herself into work, filling orders and meeting with clients, but her mind kept wandering to Ethan. Was he sleeping off his jet lag? Had Tokyo changed him? Would things between them feel different after 3 months apart? By closing time, her nerves were stretched to breaking point. She hurried home to get ready, taking extra care with her appearance. After much deliberation, she chose a simple but elegant emerald dress that Ethan had once mentioned, brought out the gold flecks in her brown eyes. She wore the delicate jade pendant he had sent from Tokyo, her grandmother's silver bracelet for luck, and left her long, dark hair loose the way he preferred it. A text arrived as she was putting on the final touches of her makeup. "Car will pick you up at 7. Can't wait." At precisely 7 p.m., Lily stepped outside her apartment building to find not the town car she had expected, but Ethan himself, leaning against his Aston Martin, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark suit with no tie. His face lit up when he saw her, and for a moment they simply stood, drinking in the sight of each other after so long apart. Then Lily was moving toward him, and he toward her, and she was in his arms, his familiar scent enveloping her as he held her close. He kissed her with such tenderness and longing that it brought tears to her eyes. Happy tears that spoke of homecomings and reunions, and the beautiful agony of separation finally ended. "I missed you," Ethan murmured against her hair when they finally pulled apart. "Every single day." "I missed you too," Lily replied, touching his face as if to reassure herself that he was really there. There were subtle changes. His skin slightly tanned from the Tokyo spring, perhaps a few more strands of silver at his temples. But his gray eyes held the same warmth, the same intensity when they looked at her. "You're even more beautiful than I remembered," he said softly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "How is that possible?" Lily laughed, the sound releasing some of the tension she had been carrying. "Absence makes the heart grow fonder?" "And the eyes less critical, perhaps," Ethan agreed with a smile, opening the car door for her. "But in this case, I think it's just that you get more stunning every time I see you." As they drove through the city, Lily expected them to head toward one of Seattle's exclusive restaurants for their reunion dinner. Instead, Ethan took a familiar route that led to the waterfront. "Where are we going?" she asked, curiosity piqued. "Somewhere special," he replied with a mysterious smile. "A place that matters to us." 20 minutes later, they pulled up in front of a familiar building, Horizon Towers, where Ethan's penthouse was located. But instead of heading inside, he led her along the waterfront path that stretched behind the building. "Do you remember our first real date?" Ethan asked, as they walked hand in hand. "After dinner at Mai's garden, we came here and walked along this path." "Of course I remember," Lily said softly. "It was where you first kissed me." Ethan's smile deepened. "Good memory." They strolled in comfortable silence for a while, reconnecting through the simple pleasure of being in each other's presence. The setting sun cast golden light across the water, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange that reminded Lily of the roses she had mistakenly delivered to Ethan's door 3 months ago. "How does it feel to be back?" she asked as they paused to watch a sailboat glide past. "Like coming home," Ethan replied, his gray eyes serious as they met hers. "Not to Seattle or the penthouse, but to you. These 3 months showed me something important, Lily. Home isn't a place, it's a person. And for me, that person is you." The sincerity in his voice, the depth of emotion in his eyes, they took Lily's breath away. Before she could respond, Ethan continued, his voice taking on a note of nervousness she rarely heard from him. "I meant what I said before I left. There are things about our future I want to discuss, important things." He took both her hands in his. "These months apart gave me time to think about what I really want in life, what truly matters. And the answer, every time, was you." Lily's heart began to race as Ethan released her hands only to reach into his pocket. When he lowered himself to one knee on the waterfront path, a small velvet box in his hand, she gasped. "Lily Chen," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the vulnerability in his eyes. "I knew from the moment you walked into my life with roses meant for someone else that you were special. What I didn't know then, what I've learned over these months, is that you are essential. To my happiness, to my purpose, to my future." He opened the box to reveal a stunning ring. Not the massive diamond she might have expected, but a unique design, featuring a center stone of deep green jade, surrounded by small diamonds, set in platinum. "I love you," Ethan continued, his eyes never leaving hers. "I love your passion for your work, your dedication to your grandmother, your strength and independence, and the way you see beauty in things others overlook. I love that you've never cared about my money or status, only about me as a person. I want to spend my life with you, supporting your dreams as you've supported mine, building something meaningful together." Ethan took a deep breath. "Lily Chen, will you marry me?" For a moment, Lily couldn't speak, overwhelmed by emotion. This man, this brilliant, kind, thoughtful man who could have anyone in the world, was kneeling before her, offering her his heart, his name, his future. It seemed impossible, and yet the evidence was right in front of her. In his eyes that held nothing but love and hope. "Yes," she finally managed, tears of joy spilling down her cheeks. "Yes, Ethan, I'll marry you." The smile that lit his face was radiant as he slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, the jade glowing against her skin as if it had been made for her alone, which, she realized, it probably had been. Ethan rose to his feet and pulled her into his arms, kissing her with a passion that spoke of promises and futures and forever. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "I had a whole speech prepared," he confessed with a small laugh, "about how our worlds might seem different but our values are the same, about how I never expected to find someone who would see past my wealth to the person underneath, about how you've changed me for the better in ways I'm still discovering." "You can still tell me all that," Lily suggested, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "We have time. A lifetime, in fact." "A lifetime," Ethan repeated, the words clearly pleasing him. "I like the sound of that." As they walked back toward his car, Lily found herself staring at the ring on her finger, still stunned by the turn her life had taken. 3 months ago, she had been a struggling florist, with a shop on the brink of failure and a grandmother in the hospital. Now she was engaged to Ethan Wright, her business was thriving, and her grandmother was recovering well in her new apartment. "The jade," she said suddenly, realizing the significance. "It's not just because green is my favorite color, is it?" Ethan smiled, pleased that she had noticed. "In Chinese culture, jade symbolizes purity and moral integrity. Your grandmother mentioned it represents a good life and a protected future when I asked for her blessing." "You asked Gran for her blessing?" Lily was touched by this traditional gesture. "Of course," Ethan replied as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "I wanted to do this properly. I visited her at the assisted living facility yesterday, right after I landed. She made me drink 3 cups of tea while she grilled me about my intentions." The image of her diminutive grandmother interrogating the powerful CEO made Lily laugh. "And did you pass the test?" "Apparently so," Ethan confirmed with a grin. "Though she did warn me that if I ever hurt you, she knows people who can make me disappear without a trace." "She's joking," Lily assured him, then paused. "Probably." Back at the car, Ethan opened her door but hesitated before she could get in. "There's one more surprise," he said, a hint of nervousness returning to his voice. "I hope you'll like it, but if you don't, we can change everything. Nothing is set in stone." Intrigued, Lily allowed him to help her into the car. Instead of heading toward any restaurant, Ethan drove them to a quiet residential neighborhood that Lily recognized as one of Seattle's older, more established areas. The houses here were elegant without being ostentatious, many dating back to the early 20th century, with mature gardens and tree-lined streets. Though I admit, I never imagined he would be quite so rich. "Gran!" Lily protested, though she couldn't help but laugh. "You know that's not why I love him." "Of course not," her grandmother agreed, patting her hand. "You love him because he sees you, really sees you, and he loves you because you see him. Not his money or his position, but the man underneath. That kind of vision is rare, Lily. It's a gift." As the garden filled with guests and the ceremony began, Lily walked toward Ethan, who waited for her beneath an arch of roses and wildflowers she had designed herself. His face as he watched her approach was filled with such love and wonder that it brought tears to her eyes. "You delivered roses to the wrong address," Ethan said softly when they stood together, hands joined before their friends and family, "and changed my life forever." "Best mistake I ever made," Lily whispered back, her heart overflowing with joy as they began their vows, their promises, their future together. A future that had started with a simple florist, a billionaire, and roses delivered to the wrong address. The right person at the wrong time becomes the wrong person. The wrong flower at the right address becomes destiny. Sometimes life's greatest gifts come disguised as mistakes, and the wrong turn leads exactly where you were meant to be all along. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.